Welcome to the Heaven on Earth podcast, a world where you study the story you were born into and redesign it into the story you choose. A world where you can have heaven on earth right here, right now, no matter the past. For me, heaven on earth is a holistic experience, leading with the heart, engaging with mind, body, and spirit. It's mindful, fostering calm and secure attachments. As we rise into consciousness, it's an earthly journey where we sensually embrace dynamic living.
Happy 2024, everyone. And we are going to start this year with a bang. I didn't want to release anything on the first because I've really been extremely thoughtful and taken a ton of notes about what I'm going to talk about today. So buckle in. We're going on a road trip. And if you've ever been on a road trip, if you love road trips, I love road trips. You need a good shotgun driver to take turns with. You need a map, a road map. You need a toolkit in case stuff comes up on the journey. You need places to rest, places to visit, places to see on a road trip. You need a good playlist, right? To be singing and remembering. You need books on tape to go on a road trip. So this is what I'd like to do. Listen, I've got my cup of coffee. It's my Chiang Mai cup of coffee because that's where I was born, Chiang Mai, Thailand. Get your cup of coffee, put it on pause right now, find a cozy seat, get your blanket, and definitely get your journal and a pen for this podcast because I'm going to be giving you a ton of information about you and about 2024 and about what we're looking at for this year. Okay, so definitely do that. Let's start. Let's start our road trip together. Oh, we also need snacks, so get some snacks for a road trip together. Okay, that is my Humanity 101 approach, which is to approach life like a road trip. And I know that on a road trip, we need guidance and we need loving care when we do life. That's what we need. And my whole impetus, my whole reason for being on planet Earth is to provide that to the people I love and to the people I work with. I'm Claudia. Let's start there. I'm Claudia Cauterucci. I am a Washington, D.C. psychotherapist. Love hashtag DC lover. I've been in Washington, D.C. since 1989, and I've been a practicing psychotherapist in downtown DC for 24 years now. I am bicultural, multilingual, and what I mean by that is I'm half American, half Colombian, and multilingual. I do speak English, Spanish, and French, but I also speak everything that I teach multidimensionally. What that means is I teach it from a psychological perspective, spiritual perspective, scientific perspective, evolutionary perspective, and biological perspective. Everything that I do comes from all of those angles. It is my way of being. It is my way of understanding, and it is my way of working and teaching. And I'm looking at my notes. So sometimes I've got to look at my notes. So I identify as a colorful person, not a person of color. And I'm going to talk about that more and more because what I mean by colorful person is who we are as colorful humans. We're full of life. We're full of rhythm. We're full of expression. We're full of art. We are colorful people. And so I want you to know that that's how I identify. I identify as a colorful person. I'm the creator of the dynamic meditation method, and I'll be speaking about that more. It's a self-healing methodology that I created in 2009 and launched in 2010 for my clients. It all started just for my clients, and now it's expanded. I do a monthly roundtable called the Wealth from Within Roundtable, Inner Journey, Outer Abundance. And part of the community from dynamic meditation is in that community, and it's amazing. And this is all under my umbrella of the Dynamic Re-Evolution Curriculum. Dynamic Re-Evolution Curriculum. So self-healing, dynamic meditation method, monthly psycho-spiritual roundtable called Wealth from Within, and the Empath Leader training. And that's a 12-week leadership training. We're going to talk about all of that. But I just wanted to give you an idea of who I am if you've not seen this podcast before. And the other thing is, I believe in trauma rising. And I believe that when we come out of trauma, when we heal from trauma, which is an ongoing process, it's like coming out of the closet. We're always coming out of the closet in some way. So we're always rising from trauma in some way. And when we are working towards rising from trauma, I believe personally and professionally that where we are headed is to heaven on earth, is to how we live heaven here on earth. And that is the name of my podcast. That is where I give you my entire vision, which is what this is. All right? So you know who I am. Okay. So let's talk about some themes. These are the themes that we're going to go over today. So we're going to go over themes of 2024, moving forward, but getting kicked off with 2024. And there are themes about sovereignty, about being independent in the big way and in the small way. So one of the tenets that I use is that the all is in the small and the small is in the all. So I believe that what happens to us as individuals is actually what's happening out in the collective and out on the planet. And what's happening on the planet and out in the collective is also a reflection of what's happening inside of us. There's an old adage that says, as above, so below. As the universe, so the soul. Okay, and in my case, it came to me on a journey, actually. The all is in the small and the small is in the all. So independence and sovereignty is happening inside of us and it's happening outside of us. Power structures. We're going to be seeing a lot of shifting and moving in terms of power, what we believe about power. And out on the planet, we're going to see a lot of sort of power movement and marking. And that's part of what's going to be wobbly about 2024 for a while. It's going to be a little scary, a little shaky, but that's not the end of the story. Okay. Another theme is spiritual awakening, a massive spiritual awakening that's been happening on the planet since 2020. For some of us, way earlier than that, but in terms of the masses, it's happening in droves since 2020, since the pandemic. And all of that is the connection to the invisible, to the unseen. So for some of you, it might not be connected to God or to angels. It might be a connection to the quantum field. It might be all of this buzz around extraterrestrial entities. Doesn't matter. What matters is this awakening about the belief that the invisible, the unseen, that energy is real. And in my case, I believe that we are provided with guidance and help. It is the era of emotions. It's not being discussed in that way, but I am definitely coining it. So we're going to be talking about the era of emotions. This in terms of who we are as humans, how this is our operating system, and our relationship to artificial intelligence. So that's one of the pretty big themes. Another theme is trauma shedding. There's been a ton of trauma shedding all over the planet, and what I call trauma rising, as you already know from my introduction, that we are rising from our trauma, and that rather than escaping, we are actually looking at it head on. Trauma rising. And then lastly, we are walking into a great unknown. We are walking into a time on planet Earth that we have never seen before. And in one of my podcast episodes, I called it History Will Not Repeat Itself. It will look like it's repeating itself, but it is not repeating itself. Why? Because we are a more aware humanity. We are more conscious. And anytime we have awareness and self-awareness, we are given new choice. We are given the power of making a new decision, a new choice. So yes, it's like when your ex comes back or calls you and comes back with all of their juice, right? Trying to get you back. That's what history is going to do. History is going to seduce us in the old ways, especially through fear. Through fear. But today, or this is my invitation for sure, is that we are going to respond in a different way. Okay, those are the themes. And this is the grand question. The grand question is, what are we going to do? What are you going to do in your own personal life? But what are we going to do as a humanity to get peace? Are we going to get peace through conflict? Are you going to get peace through conflict in your personal life? Or are you going to find other ways to find peace? That is the grand question, and that is the choice. Thank you. I'm going to take a little sip here. Because as we say in Spanish, vamos pa largo. This is going to be a long podcast. Vamos pa largo. So sit down, get comfy. All right. Let's talk about the backdrop. The backdrop is that for centuries and centuries and centuries now, we have been in the dark ages. And we have been in the dark ages where power meant dominance, subjugation, humiliation, torture, and killing. It meant hierarchy through that type of power. Winners and losers was the name of the game. This is centuries. And centuries where the not enough program made us compete at a level where we would end up killing each other, humiliating each other, torturing each other. Centuries of the dark ages. And the not enough program means that as a humanity, we have believed that there's not enough to go around. And when there's not enough to go around, we get desperate, we starve, and we fight for it. If there's only 3 pieces of pizza and there's 10 of us, we're going to compete. It is a hunger game scenario. Okay, that's the big picture of the backdrop. Since 2020, since the pandemic, since planet Earth shook us all up and asked us to go inside, literally, we all on the planet had to go inside. And anytime we go inside ourselves, through psychotherapy, through meditation, through stillness, through silent retreats, sometimes being in a jail cell, when we go inside, it is going to rock our world. Because what we are most afraid of is what's happening inside of us. And we had to go inside. We had to look at our family dynamics. We had to look at whether we were happy with the work we were doing. We had to look at who we were. So that, what I call the sacred pause in meditation, the whole planet took a sacred pause. And what began to happen is that many, many humans began to leave the story they were born into because they were analyzing the story, what I call the volume one, the story that we were born into or that was given to us. And we had to start looking at it, like going into our closet and throwing things out, cutting cords. So right now, we are at a great crossroads. 2024 is a place of great intersection. It is a moment where we are starting to really think about and where we are required to move into what I call volume 3, right? Volume 2 is the explosions of our inner self, our wounds, our trauma, our toxic relationships, our addictions, our emotional patterns, our obsessions that require us to look at the story that we are in. Volume 3 is the story that we are choosing, we are designing, and we are creating. And that, the all is in the small is in the all, is for us individually, for you, for me, but also for the planet. And the questions are we going to thrive or are we going to go extinct? That's what the pandemic asked. And we keep asking this. Are we going to figure out a way to move forward where we stay alive? And I want to add, and vibrant. Or are we going extinct? That's the great divide. The great divide, it will be, there's a lot of us, a lot of people, and certainly in my work, of people who have done the work. Have done the work of going inside, of studying themselves, of trying to heal themselves. There's a person I follow on, there's a ton of people. I'm gonna drop a lot of names so that you can have self-healing resources. Christopher Witecki talks about there being 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 30% of people have worked through their stuff or are working through their stuff and are moving forward into this new era with a new vision and a new identity. 30% are going to double down on the old era. They're going to be in fight mode, in humiliation mode, in through power by subjugating dominance mode. They're going to double down on how it used to be. And that's what we're going to see on the planet. Basically, the bully will still want to fight in the old way. So you can look around, you can look at the nudes and decide, oh, you're wanting to do this in the old way. But there's a new way rising, and that is the new era, and that is the chosen story of yourself and of humanity. So there is going to be 30% of the folks trying to do it the old way and doubling down on it. There's 30% of us who are trying to clean this whole thing up, clean ourselves up and move forward. And there's going to be 30% of us who are just going to stay on the sidelines with the remote in their hands passively. There's going to be resistance. And of course, my whole mission is to invite you to do the work and do the work of your chosen story and humanity's chosen story. Let's do this. Let's walk over the bridge together into the new era. Let's do it. All right. So it's go time. It's go time. It's time for new earth. A lot of you have been hearing me talk about new earth. It's time for heaven on earth. So let's take it a notch up. In my case, I wanted to not just stay alive, not get past extinction, but I want us to move into a vibrant renaissance, right? Like our rebirth. That's exactly what it means. Renacimiento, renaissance, rebirth of ourselves, of others, of the planet. And what that means is that we are going to be living in a heart-based existence. Our life will be coming from the heart, from our passion, from our feelings. And we're going to talk about why that's important. You're going to lead through your heart. You're going to lead through the heart of humanity. You're going to lead through the heart of the planet. Remember that I've talked about in past posts about we're just coming out the era of the mind, which we adore because the era of the mind brought us neuroscience, brought us mindfulness, brought us manifestation, brought us neuroplasticity, which I call the hope phrase because it says that our mind can keep stretching, expanding, and growing no matter what we suffered. That's what neuroplasticity gave us. No matter the trauma we were in, we are able to form new neural nets through experience, through new experiences. So mindfulness, manifestation was the idea that we can create our reality through our thoughts. So again, can you see the theme, the era of the mind? We are crossing the bridge into the era of emotions, into the era of our feelings. So we got to become experts on them. We're going to talk about that later. So the thing with the era of the mind, though, too, right, is that we have been brainwashed. Because the mind is a perfect soldier. It learns, it follows our orders. It's a puppy. It's unwieldy sometimes. So we've got to keep saying, heal, heal, heal. And we do that with practices, with cognitive behavioral therapy. But we've also been brainwashed to believe that there's not enough on the planet, that we are not enough, that we are unworthy and undeserving. Those were the dark ages of the mind. That we are less than, that there is a hierarchy where people are better, and superior, inferior paradigm. We are moving out of that, my friends, my dear ones, my loved ones. We're moving out of that and we're going into the heart right here. Okay, so the question for that, the grand question, and I hope you're writing. I hope you've got your, I've got this, I've got my notes. The grand question here is, what does my heart say? And I want you to ask that because your mind will say one thing. For example, sometimes my mind says, oh my gosh, all those bills. And when I ask my heart, what does my heart say? It says, I want to pay every single person out there. I want to pay, and I want to pay extra because everyone is worthy of being paid because there is enough. So that's an example of what your mind says and what your heart says. So what does your heart say is a question. So, New Earth, let's talk about New Earth because New Earth is based on everything new and it is the unknown, but it's based on innovations. We are going to see a wave of amazing innovation. The new is coming in. Let's talk a little bit about signs of the new era, signs of new earth, signs of being in a new identity. Let's talk about the signs. Some of the signs of new earth is what I like to call the third way. And in dynamic meditation, we use this a lot when we're caught in a splitting mind, like it's good or bad, it's black or white, I love or I hate. Psychologically, and for example, in borderline personality disorder, there is one of the symptoms is splitting. It's a way of thinking where you either love or hate someone. And it can get pretty obsessive and we can ruminate a lot. The other way that in dynamic meditation we talk about it is as attachments or aversions. It's like the Clash song, should I stay or should I go? And what starts to happen is that as we expand, as our mind becomes more neuroplastic through meditation, through internal self-discovery, a third way begins to blossom. And of course, sometimes it's a fourth way and a fifth way. I love to call it plan B, plan C, plan D. Love plan B, plan C, and plan D, and E and F. But let's just give it the concept of the third way. And on planet Earth, we're wanting a third way. We don't want this level of warmongering. We don't want just two political parties anymore. We want a third way. And that third way is a softening, an opening. It's evolution. So part of the new era will be a third way. Because we're tired of duality, we're tired of good and bad, we're tired of superior, inferior, we're tired of right or wrong, but also we're tired of the consequences of that type of belief. Because if you're right and I'm wrong, we're going to be at war. If you're better than me and I'm worse than you, we're going to be at war. See, everything leads to self-hate and war. And that leads to extinction. So if I hate myself, I'm going to extinguish myself. If I feel that I'm inferior to you, I'm going to hate myself. So everything when it's rigidly dualistic will lead us to a point of we have to ask, we have to beg, we have to search for the third way. That's the new era. Another sign of the new era is sort of just agreeing to disagree. Because you're more focused on your heart, on what makes you happy. And you're not tripping, basically. You're not as involved, as engaged on what others are doing. It's going inside, right? It's going inside. And by the way, 2024, we've been inside for a while. Since 2020, we have done this deep work. And for those of you, certainly people who are in my community or who work with me, we've been doing a lot of intense internal work. So we're coming out into this new place, new identities. So you're in new earth if you feel less attached to obligations and duty, where finding your hope, your passion, your dreams has become more important. You're less willing to live because of obligations and duties. In Spanish, we would call it because of el que dirán, of what others are saying. El que dirán. We don't want to adhere to el que dirán, to what others are saying anymore. We want to go with what we feel, which leads us to another sign that you're on new earth and in this new era, is that you matter. Your preference matters. Your desires and your needs matter. And we would expand it to say that what the planet needs and what humans need matter. For the people, with the people, that matters. So what you feel matters. Another way that relates to non-dualistic, non-rigid dualistic thinking is the idea that you can see other people's point of view. You can see what matters to them more. And you can feel respect for what matters to them. The other sign that you might be on new earth and in this new era and going into your new identity is that you're done with suffering. You're done with surviving. That mode of being in ultra competition, in tragedy, in trauma bonding, even in your own families. Because see, trauma bonding can be a cultural language. Certainly in my culture, it's one of the ways that we talk is how much suffering, how much in the fight are you? Are you in the fight? Are you in the struggle? And there's a lot of us who are just done with being in the suffering. We want to talk about what we're thinking and dreaming about. We want to be past survival. And the planet is asking for that too. Let's move into another way that's very connected to that, which is trauma rising. You're done with escaping your past. So you're less avoidant. And that's connected to one of the 30%, the 30% who's doing the work. That's probably you. If you're attracted to this podcast, that's probably you. You're done escaping. And check it out. When I was thinking of the word escaping, when we're escaping, we're in danger. And that's connected to fight, flight, fawn, freeze. Those are all survival programmings. Let's turn around and look. Let's turn around and reflect. Let's turn around and feel. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not escaping my past. I'm understanding my past. I'm transcending my past. I'm feeling into my past, but I'm not escaping anymore. I'm not running because that puts me in a fight, flight, freeze, fawn mode. That keeps me in survival. That keeps me in trauma. So, yep, I'm sitting down. I'm getting my cup of coffee. Let's take a sip. I'm calming my central nervous system because I'm not escaping anymore. I'm not escaping anything. So we're done with extinction-based hate in any form, extinction-based running. This is our call to action. We are looking at this. Okay, very good. Take a sip. I'm going to take a sip. So check this out. I've made a column and I'm going to go through it quickly and I want you to write down, we are between spiritual eras. We are between the old era and the new era. 2024 is the beginning of it. For some people, the number 4 in itself is a portal, is a doorway. Okay? And that's where we are. So I'm going to go really quickly back and forth between the columns of old era, new era. And if you're just thinking of yourself, which is great because you matter, the self with a capital S matters. The self matters because the self, when you heal you, you're helping heal the planet. You're el granito de arena, which means the grain of sand that joins the other granitos de arena, the other grains of sand, that becomes a whole collective that helps us heal Mother Earth. Old era was a time of limitations. Everything was limited thinking, limited ways of seeing ourselves, dualistic. We only had two options all the time, good or bad, black and white. The new era is your chosen story that has quantum possibilities. And that is why quantum physics has become a boom. It's been around since the early 1900s. It just hadn't taken off. But it's the idea that we have multiple timelines to choose from, that we have quantum possibilities, and that we are choosing every single hour of the day, and that there's possibility of everywhere. And by the way, let me make a little bit of a parenthesis here. One of the things that post-traumatic stress does to us the most is that it takes away possibility. We are so completely frozen in our trauma that we can't think of a future. And my loves, we're here to get our future back. We're here to heal. We're here to believe in possibility, which is personally my personal belief in magic is the belief in possibility. Don't you love when you believe in possibility, when things are possible? It feels like magic. It feels like Christmas. It feels like Santa. It feels like love. It feels like being in love. All things are possible. So, chosen story, and the code for the chosen story is free will. I have free will. I have the will to choose my story. No matter the story I was born into, the culture, the ethnicity, the race, the social class, the economic class, it does not matter. I can choose my story. I have free will. All right. Old era, extreme hierarchy. New era is self-governance. I lead me. I lead me. And an empath leader, some people say, but I'm not sure I want to lead people. It doesn't matter. Empath leader is about you learning how to self-govern, you learning how to lead yourself, your life, right? And the code there is leading yourself, but also co-leading. We are leading with others. No one's above, no one's below. We lead here with others, others we respect. Old era was the exploitation of hierarchy, right? The totem pole, who was on the top dominated and subjugated. And all of those hierarchies were based on really, really crazy, absurd abstractions. We're waking up. Worthiness was based on absurd abstractions that are no longer going into the new era, the new identity. Punto y aparte. And what that means is period, new paragraph. Hard stop. So in the new era, it is dominated by self-awareness. Self-awareness, consciousness. That goes for the populace, for you, for the planet, for others. And the code there is what I call the parts of the body. And that does come from my spiritual studies in Christianity, which is a belief that we're all parts of the body. And I love it. I love it. In the book, Diversity and Humanity, I do a whole section on that. The parts of the body. Thank God that you do what you do. because I don't do it. Thank God there's teachers teaching our babies. There were teachers teaching our babies during COVID. Thank you. I honor you. Because I'm not doing that. I'm doing psychotherapy. That's my part of the body. Thank God there's engineers. How about this? This is the place I love to honor, and I say it all the time. Thank God for the trash collectors. I love them. I adore them. I honor them because they help keep our planet clean. Imagine the opposite. The parts of the body matter. What you do matter. Thank God for therapists who work with children. I'm too much of a mom. I can't. It breaks my heart. I can work with adults. Thank God for the parts of the body, for people who are presidents, for people who are architects, for people at the coffee shop. Thank you for the parts of the body. That's the new era. Parts of the body, we're all important for this whole. Okay. So the old era was trauma-based. Sorry, I get really passionate about that. I so believe in the parts of the body. It's crazy. Trauma-based, old era. Everything was trauma-based. Danger-driven, getting away, escaping. Right? The F's. Fear, flight, freezing, fawning, fighting. All the F's. Old era. New era is expansion based. We're going to evolve. We want expansion. We want to be limitless. We want possibility. Old era worthiness was determined by others, by priests, by the Pope, by the president, by a race, by an economic status. Worthiness was based on others and by others. In the new era, worthiness is based on ourselves. And we are all born worthy. So it is our natural born right that we are worthy. It has nothing to do with others. Nothing to do with others. Worthiness is ours to have. Old era is what Christopher Witecki calls power for power's sake. So the whole thing, again, was based on subjugation. The whole deal was, I want to be powerful no matter what the ends, no matter what the means, power for power's sake. And by the way, we are seeing all of those systems collapsing. It is the Tower card in the tarot. The Tower is falling, but it's good because new formations are coming up, but it will feel scary to a lot of us. It's not scary if we know, oh, this is what's happening. These structures are no longer sustainable or viable for planet Earth to survive. Basically, if it's power at all costs, we will go extinct, y'all. That's just the straight up truth. It was all survival of the fittest, power for power's sake. In this new era, I like to use the word prowess. And prowess is what we feel inside ourselves, is our gifts, our skills, our abilities. And of course, I'm on a mission to help those shine, to shine light on people's prowess, which is exactly what all of my programs do, Empath Leader, especially Empath Leader. So what's the code there? Self-love. We're not messing around with self-love. We are not messing around with self-love. It is not a luxury. It is not woo-woo. It is not fluffy. Check it out. If we don't self-love, starting with you, we won't love others. And if we don't love others, We're still on the self-hate programming, which makes us hate others, which makes us go into war, which leads us always to the verge of extinction. So we're not playing around with self-love anymore. It is not woo. It is not fluff. The power code there is collaboration. We collaborate with others. We collaborate with ourselves. We self-love. So passionate about that. Old era was kill or get killed, survival of the fittest. New era is live and let live. Let live. And the code there is respect. The language of heaven on earth is respect. It's the one thing that in our family, we can disagree. We can even not like each other. But we've got to respect each other. And we can respectfully say, using the third way, I disagree with you. I feel strongly against this. And we can say it with respect. We can be at the respect table. Sometimes I actually believe that in love relationships or in long-term relationships with our lovers, our family, our children, respect is what keeps us together, right? Because in love relationships, the sex can die out, or sometimes we grow differently and we go separately. But if we respect each other with children, respecting our children, by the way, it's not just one way, them to us, it's us to them. When we respect their little sovereign beings, their opinions, whether they're 2 or 3 or 4 or 14, there's something to say. It's a great relationship lubricant. Respect. So live and let live, and the code there is respect. And I'm, again, so passionate about these things, but at the core of the heaven on earth society is respect. So in old earth, it was we either governed or we were governed. In new earth, we self-govern. We know ourselves, we lead ourselves. And the code for that is sovereignty. And sovereignty is based on preference. What do I want? But in order to get to preference, we got to do some deep dive work, right? Because that's when I discover my needs. It's when I validate my emotions, validate everything, validate my needs, my fears, my past, my reactions, my impulses, my way of being in the world. Once I know all of that, once I know what I need in a relationship, once I know that I need my downtime, my quiet time, my thinking time, my love time, my affection time, once I know all of that, then I'm more sovereign. Then I validate myself. I don't need you to validate me anymore. I validate myself. So the code there is sovereignty. But again, sovereignty requires deep dive work. So for the 30% of you who are already doing it, awesome. All right. In old earth, difference and diversity is used against. Centuries, dark ages. It's used to humiliate. It's used to destroy. It's used to bully. That's the way it was in the old era. If there's diversity in difference, and in diversity in humanity, I talk about it. We're the only species that does that. We love differences in birds and flowers, in landscape, in mammals. We love those differences. But in humans, we destroy each other for the differences. It's really absurd. It's bizarre. And it has the extinction paradigm painted all over it. And sameness, in old era, sameness, the fact that we're all humans, is based on mimicry. We mimic, and Amanda Flaker talks a lot about mimic, the mimic program. So the way that we do sameness is that we all must become uniform, alike, exactly alike. So anyone who's diverse or different, we destroy, we smash. This is all old earth. This is why people used religious power and condemnation, racial, ethnic, etc., etc. I don't need to give you examples. In New Earth, the way that we value sameness is to realize that that's our foundational way of being. We are all humans. It's just our base. It is the beginning layer. It's the root chakra. The way that we are the same is that we all feel, we all think, we all love. We have lovers. We have children. We want shelter. We want warmth. We want health. The way that we're the same is that we are humanly the same. We don't have to mimic each other. The sameness is foundational. We are mammalian. Sameness makes us human. Therefore, we don't have to mimic each other. Therefore, that gives birth to beautiful diversity because the sameness is established. We are human beings. Somos humanos. It's differences and diversity that makes us beautifully, divinely unique. Hair, color, dance, expression, just like in other species, just like in beautiful birds and animals and landscape, just as water is different from desert. Yes, what makes us the same there is that we're all part of planet Earth. We're all humans. So we don't have to mimic. We can be beautifully different and diverse. Both are required, but in old earth, it was based, sameness was mimicry, and therefore difference and divergence from that would make us squash one another. So the code for that, for diversity, sameness and diversity, is authenticity. We want to shine with our authentic self, with our throat chakra, with our heart chakra, with our will. Authenticity. Old earth, we were trapped in systems and structures that were based on, again, this squashing. It was based on dominance through class, race, economics, structures, a lot of the superior, inferior paradigm. Everything has fallen into superior and inferior paradigm. By the way, which doesn't mean that as parts of the body, you are not better at something than I am. Thank God you are. You are a way better engineer. You are way better at math. You understand quantum physics in a way that I don't. Thank God that you are better at that than I am. And I honor you and give you that throne. And you can honor me and give me my throne of what I'm good at. But we are all parts of the body, which is different from I subjugate you through superiority and the inferiority paradigm. We honor and respect ways that you are better at something than I am. It doesn't make you superior. You're genius. You have both genius and you have imperfection. I have genius and I have imperfection. I teach that in Empath Leader Galore. And it doesn't mean that we're in a superior, inferior paradigm. Old Earth. New Earth is exactly what I just said, parts of the body and choice. We can choose to be who we want to be. The freest human is the choosing human. The freest human is the choosing human. Choice. If this is humanity, choice. Let's say you go by traditional religious texts. God gave us free will. Now we also have access to guidance through texts, through prayer, through stillness, through listening, through extrasensory abilities. We have guidance available to us. But we were given free will. So all of the work we do in therapy, meditation, all of our self-healing modalities is to get us closer and closer to our beautiful, authentic selves where we choose to be who we are. Okay, so some of the signs that we're crossing over the bridge. All right, let's take our little coffee cup break. Beautiful. Un cafecito during Heaven on Earth podcast. Okay. Signs that we're on the bridge or crossing over the bridge. And remember, I'm a bridge builder. I'm a light worker. I'm a way shower. And a lot of you guys are as well. So a lot of you are as well. There's lots of cord cutting going on. And what that means is that we're wanting to leave our trauma behind. We are realizing that some of our relationships with our family, with friendships, and love relationships, and sometimes even with, in some cases, with codependent relationships with our children, with our race, with our neighborhood, we're leaving them behind. We are cutting those cords. We are no longer willing to be in those types of relationships. Now, this is grueling. This is brutal, but we don't do it alone. We do it in community, and we do it with people who are working on this themselves. A good example is so much talk about the narcissist. And mainly it's, in Empath Leader, I talk a lot about how we've been under narcissistic systems, which is everything we've described. Superior, inferior paradigms, all or nothing. And that's very narcissistic. But we've also individually been in a lot of narcissistic relationships. It's not been we do this together. Literally, we're fist bumping each other. Collaboration and cooperation. We basically have been doing it under the narcissist. And so we're cord cutting from that. We're boundary setting. There's so much more talk around boundaries. And I would even, in Heaven on Earth, boundaries morph into preferences. We just start to prefer what we prefer more. And that in itself, Amanda Flaker would say, establishes a boundary, a self-protective boundary when we say, this is what I prefer. A lot of you, I know certainly for me, we're just speaking our truth more. And even though it's scary sometimes, I know that I've been scared to go public or to speak in public. I've just felt a calling to. We're just speaking our truth. We're using our throat chakra a lot more. and you're speaking your truth. And your truth is what you need, what you want, what you crave, what you dream of, what you prefer, what's in your body. Which leads to the last one, is that there's a call and a being in your body more. I really want to talk about this, about being in your body more. So Dale Neely, who's like a super high level yogi based out of LA, and I is now a very close friend. She's just a powerhouse, and she works with super high level people in LA for years and years and years. She's so amazing and self-taught and has a million degrees, but mostly she says that our body is our vision board, that everything happens here. And as we cross over into the new era, being embodied, embodiment means, for me, it's graduation. We come back into the body. I really want you to take notes on this. Because we've been in the age of trauma, because we've been wounded, because we've been in all the F's, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, fear, we have left our bodies. In old earth, we condemned our bodies. We condemned sexuality. We condemned pleasure. We condemned what we felt. We dismissed our body. Everything, even especially in religious, spiritual communities, was about not being in the body. We abused the body. We hated the body. We hit the body. We hit our little ones. We smacked their bodies. We tortured the bodies. We self-hated the body. So, of course, we left our body. And for those of you who come from religious backgrounds or spiritual backgrounds, it is so important that we understand that our body is our vehicle here on earth. Jesus himself incarnated. God became the body. I happen to believe that the more we ascend spiritually, the more we know spiritually, the higher we go, which is what's happening on the planet, the more we love our body. We love being here. I've talked about it on other podcasts. We want to taste, hear, feel, sense, touch, hug, using the body. We are safe in the body. So it's very interesting because as we evolve, and sometimes evolution is about expansion, right? But check it out. The paradox is the more we evolve, the more we expand. It is actually a return home. Home into our authentic selves, into our embodied self. So anything that brings you back home into the body, and of course, trauma healing, anything that starts to get the body. For me, trauma is a whole big blob that got frozen. Blob. And so anything we can do, and I'm going to talk about that, to start defrosting that blob and letting it out, it is no wonder that sometimes in psychedelic journeys, or when we're doing intense psychotherapy, or when we're doing breath work, that we start to vomit. It's because the trauma blobs are coming out of us. The hairballs, the trauma hairballs are coming out of us. And so Our highest form of evolution, our expansion right now is loving our bodies, coming home to the body. New era. Because the body is our instrument to be here, to be here. Teresa d'Avila, a nun in the 15th century, I've written blogs about her. She used to have these ecstatic, orgasmic experiences of feeling God in her body. God. It was a communion with God. Old era is that we were doing. Everything was doing. New era is being. I am me. We are going to be together. So let's stay on the bridge. Let's talk about the bridge. You've got to do deep work on shedding trauma as you're over the bridge into new earth. We are going to fully become experts. As I always say, get a PhD on you, on our human operating system, which is our feelings, our emotions, moving into the era of emotions. We learn how to feel them because they're messengers, they're text messages. We learn how to regulate them. We learn how to calibrate them, lower the volume, increase the volume. So knowing our feelings is super essential as we cross the bridge over to new era, new earth. We learn that our wounds were our gifts, basically. And what does it mean? It means that we do not regret our past. We do not regret the things that we did wrong. We learn from them. We are not in the karmic loop of repeating and paying that price. The wound is the gift. What did I learn? What did it teach me? How was getting on my knees, hitting rock bottom, as they would say, or we would say in 12-step programs? What was there in for me? So the wound is the gift. It's not so much based on forgiving, it's based on letting go. As we walk into new earth, into this new era, listen, we're going to talk about this because I get all stuck on forgiveness because if we've been abused, it's really hard to do. So we can start ruminating around, should I forgive? Should I not forgive? Does that let them off the hook? They're going to have their own experience of learning, their own karmic loop. But in order for us to move forward, we've got to let go. We've got to just take that backpack off. Take the backpack off. That backpack belongs to them. Give it to them. So it's less about forgiving. It's more about letting go. And remember, your body is your platform. I like to say, your CNS, your central nervous system, is your CVS. And on the East Coast, the CVS is a pharmacy. I think maybe the West Coast too, or all over the planet. Doesn't matter. CVS is a pharmacy. So your central nervous system is your pharmacy. And because we are letting go of trauma, we're learning how to calm our central nervous system, which is one of the core things of heaven on earth, is live. In order to be moved from doing into being, we've got to be able to calm our central nervous system. And that, of course, happens through the breath. We're going to talk about tools in a second. When it comes to others, when we're crossing over the bridge, we're going to move much more into collaborations. I'm totally collaborating with everyone I know, including with the new book of Empath Leader. I'm collaborating again with Kaylee O'Keefe, the CEO of Soul Excellence. Her whole mission is to raise awareness with conscious leadership. Collaborations, cooperativeness. And when you pick up the Empath Leader book, you're going to see what I mean by that. Know yourself through others. Relationships are going to be a way that you know yourself. So allow the triggers that others bring you, because you've got to get into your triggers in order to heal. So others will trigger you, whether it's being that person at the 7-Eleven, that person on the plane, or that love relationship. Allow the relationships with others to be a way that you know yourself. Everything is a PhD on you, as I like to say. PhD on you. So know that when it comes to others, what I'm doing is I divide it into self, others, and the planet. As you can see, I took a lot of notes, you guys. Self, others, and the planet. Is that sameness is our base. Remember, I am you and you are me. We all feel, we all think, we all want to love, we all want to be loved. We all need alone time. We all need social time. We are human. We all. That's our base. And in that, we find our authentic self. We find our preferences is by being with others. We find what we don't want through what we want. We find what we want through what we don't want. So we find ourselves in relationship to others. And it doesn't mean you have to have a lover or be married or have children. It means that you start to discover who you are by how you respond and react to others. The planet. When we move into the planet, self, others, and the planet, which Amanda calls the win-win-win, is that we are not separate from the planet, y'all. We are not separate. Every time you throw trash, I walk my dog with a plastic bag, and I'm that person who's picking up the trash out there. That's why I adore, honor, respect trash collectors, because that's our mama. Planet Earth is our mama. If our rivers are dirty, if our water is dirty, we won't have water to drink. It all leads us to extinction. If we don't have awareness, if we're putting poisons in our food, in our animals, we are all part of the same organism. Planet Earth is one big cell, and we are part of it. And if we think that we are separate, that's cancer. Cancer begins with rogue cells who think they are separate. Autoimmune diseases attacks itself. We are part of planet Earth. We've got to stop being the autoimmune disease on planet Earth. We are just another species on the planet. So please, this whole self-hate into self-love thing, we can't mess around with it. We can't mess around with it anymore. Like, for reals. It is go time on planet Earth for humanity. Okay, so these are your steps. Ready? I know it's a lot. Cafecito. Okay, hold on. 2024 is going to be big. So steps. Write it down. Steps. ¿Cuáles son mis pasos? What are my steps? Set a North Star. What's your North Star? What's your North Star for yourself? If you've got 30 years left on this planet, if this planet is around for 30 years, what do you want? Where are you headed? Set a North Star. Number 2, get a PhD on you. Awareness is what's going to save us. Self-awareness is what's going to save us. Know your emotional patterns, your emotional shedding, what no longer serves you, because that, the all is in the small is in the all. That's what's happening on the planet. The systems and structures, the power dynamics that are falling down, that are fighting for their life are the ones that are no longer sustainable and will not be sustainable for planet Earth and will not be sustainable for humanity. Check it out. Follow it. You will see what's no longer sustainable. And there are emotional patterns inside of us that are no longer sustainable. So if you've been afraid to go inside yourself, to deal with your trauma, to deal with your past, to deal with your wounds, to make those decisions, to be the one in your family that cuts the cord, to be the one in your family who's totally and completely different, if you've been afraid, listen, there's groups of us all over the planet right now. Just check out self-healing on Instagram, on what I call YouTube University. Certainly in my community, in the dynamic re-evolution community, we're awesome. It's a fierce group, and all of us have had complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Everyone has high anxiety, has something going on that they have been working through. So I want to soothe you. I want to comfort you. You are not alone. Do the work. Be part of the 30% that's walking over. Okay? So, and it's time. The planet will help you. The collective will help you. There's so much help out there. There is no excuse. There is no excuse for complaining. There is no excuse for trauma bonding anymore. There is no excuse. It doesn't cost money. YouTube University is free. There is a ton of healing modalities that are free out there. No excuse. And complaints don't count anymore. They don't count. They do not count. We are going into the unknown, but go into the unknown with the best tool ever, which is you knowing yourself. You knowing yourself. So if you're in the middle of the jungle, but you know that you know how to build something, and you know that you know how to calibrate your internal experience, you're good. You're going to rock it. Let's know ourselves. Okay, make vows for the new era like this to yourself, like you would, like you're getting married to you. Like, I promise myself to sleep better. I promise myself to take my time when I'm getting into a relationship. I promise myself. Make your Bill of Rights. Christopher Witecki talks about this. I have the right. It is my right. In my case, my first right in my Bill of Rights to myself was I have the right to protect myself, to feel protected, because my inner child, my little girl, didn't feel it. So now I get to be a healed adult who knows how to protect herself. It's beautiful. Write your Bill of Rights. Another step is to commune, be in community, be in tons of community. The tools, and I'm going to do a whole thing on tools, but basically anything that has to do with feelings, anything that has to do with knowing your feelings, feeling your feelings, anything. That's a modality that helps you know your feelings, era of emotions. Anything with the body, massage, Tai Chi, yoga, hot yoga, breath work, cold plunges, do it. Anything with the body, anything with cleansing. Learn how to eat better, more water, cleanse. Psychedelic psychotherapy in a legal, guided way with experts, with intentions and integration. Okay, my incredible, adored friend and colleague, Charles Martinez, is the director, the clinical director of Stella. They do ketamine. They work with people with PTSD, anxiety, anything that cleanses from trauma. Do it. Anything with the kind, unseen. Basically, with the divine. with the quantum field, with angelic frequencies, with God, with however you choose, with energies, whatever you choose. Find guidance in the unseen with nature. The cycles of nature will teach you anything that gets us back into relationship with the beautiful guidance and messaging that we get from the invisible. And as far as I go, I do all of it. The planets. Okay, now we're wrapping up. How you doing? How you doing? A little cafecito. Let's do cafecito before I wrap up. New era, new earth. We are going into the unknown. But this is why I do this, to provide a roadmap, a playlist. I'm the person next to you driving toolkits. We need a toolkit. We need guidance. We need others. We need rest stops on this road trip we're taking into the new era, into our new identities, into this renaissance, into this rebirth. We need it. When we travel from A to B, we need our rest stops. Isn't that beautiful? The places that we stop to rest, we stop to have meals with others. My tools, what I offer is for all of this. That is my calling. My day job is that I'm a psychotherapist, so I do it one-on-one with people. The mission, the vision, the toolkit. And all of this is a PhD on you. So the dynamic re-evolution curriculum runs the gamut. There's something for everyone. There's a cost for everyone. So check it. I'm going to leave you with this and then we're done. The dynamic meditation method is a self-healing modality that I created starting with myself, that I created then for my clients so that they could have something when we weren't in session. And it's an actual tool that gives the vision, the roadmap. It comes with an amazing community, but it's actually a way to regulate, calibrate your internal experience. It's a way to know yourself through your feelings and your emotions. It is ridiculously powerful. And because I work with people with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, high anxiety, high ruminations, high negative self-talk, this had to be portable, and practical. It had to be. It had to be on the spot in real-time help. And so the dynamic meditation method does that. You get a toolkit, you get meditations, you get all of it. You become a feeling expert, a feeling whisperer. In terms of continuing with practices, because we don't just stop there, we have to practice. We have to keep it going. The wealth from within, inner journey out of outer abundance, right, is a psycho-spiritually monthly group. We just meet once a month. We meet for 2 hours though. And we talk about prosperity, abundance, self-healing, multidimensionally and multilinguistically, psychologically, spiritually. That's my jam. I'm multilingual. Okay. Every second Saturday of the month, we meet. And then I'm starting this year meditation on Tuesdays. And that's going to be Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's only 30 minutes, but it keeps us in practice. And that's for everybody. For everybody. These are for everybody. And remember, dynamic meditation, the tagline is heal yourself, heal the planet. Wealth from within, it's inner journey, outer abundance. These are very thought through. The Empath Leader 12-week training, people ask me, if you're an empath, the empath is meant to lead in this new era. The gifts, abilities, skills, even wounds that the empath has are meant for this new era. I'm on a mission. It's a 12-week training. It's intensive. You get coached by me, you get taught by me, and we do a retreat. And that's coming up in March. It's all about self governance, self leadership, self knowledge. And then we move into how do we lead others. And how we lead others can be with just leading our families. Okay? So don't get tripped up on leadership. And then this, the Heaven on Earth podcast. And whether it's my YouTube channel, because you'll find it there, or Spotify or Amazon Music, you'll find it there. And this has a range. Listen, my Dynamic Re-Evolution curriculum has a range of prices, has a range of time, because I want to make it accessible all the way through, because I'm on a mission to be one of the people who does this bridge building into this new earth, new era, new identity. So let's take a deep breath together. This is how I like to leave, say goodbye. It brings us into the intimacy of who we are together. It calms our central nervous system. And it brings us into our sameness as humans. And as you're nice and quiet, I'm going to ask you, do you believe that you can rise from trauma? Do you believe that we can have heaven on earth now, today? Thank you. Happy 2024.